Good night, everyone. Let me just say a big welcome to you to the Master Guide program. As was mentioned before, this is a very exciting program. This is a new beginning in a new stage of your life. Let me hope that you will stick with the program, and at the end of it all, you will be invested as a Master Guide. Tonight, we will be looking at stars. Your presenter, as was mentioned before, is Everton Johnson, Master Guide Johnson. Now, when you think about the study of stars, there are two main words that come to mind: astronomy and astrology. Now, astronomy have to do with the study of heavenly bodies, or celestials in the celestial sphere. And it have to do with their behavior and their movements across the sky. While astrology have a perceived influence of the stars upon human behavior. We're talking about like the horoscope. A lot of people don't leave their home in the morning unless they listen to their horoscope, their future under the stars. Now, as Seventh-day Adventists, we don't believe that the stars have an influence upon human behavior. However, we as Seventh-day Adventists, we believe that there are a lot of significance in knowing what is taking place in the heaven above. So we are now tonight gonna do some astronomy, not astrology. So as an MIT, you might ask, what's the need to study stars? Here I give you a few of the reasons why we do star study as Master Guide and Master Guide in training. In Genesis 1 verse 14, God said, let the lights be in the firmament, and it should be for signs and seasons. So the heavenly bodies are there to show signs, and also they're there for season. Also in Matthew 24 verse 29, Jesus predicted the darkening of the sun and the moon and the falling of the stars. Also in Luke 21 verse 25, he stated that there will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. And we can also use these heavenly bodies to know the time, and we can also, based on their position, we can get directions from them. So here we go. We're going to seek to answer a number of questions. Now, what I want from all students is to take notes. Take notes of all the questions, take notes of all the answers. Now, in your assignment, what I'd want you to do is to not go to the website and print off what is there. I would like you to make your own work. So from my notes and also from research that you will be doing, you will put your assignment together and hand them to Brother Smith. So the question is asked, what is the Earth's nearest celestial neighbor? And what is the distance from the Earth? So what is our nearest neighbor? And most of you will well know that our nearest neighbor is the moon. And the distance from the Earth is 240,000 miles or 386 kilometers. So that's the answer to part A of the first question. Now, part B of the first question, what are tides? Now, some of you might be acquainted with this word, some of you might not. However, and the other question is, what governs the tides? The answer is, tides relates to the ebb and the flow of the ocean. There are high tide and there are low tide. So there are certain times, especially, as a matter of fact, the moon governs the tide. So based on the stage of the moon, sometimes we have first quarter, second quarter, full moon, etc. So based on the position of the moon and its relative position to the Earth, sometimes the ocean come high and sometimes it recedes. So as I mentioned before, the tides are governed by the phases of the moon. Now, the next question is, what is, yes, the moon also cause gravity, the gravitational pull on the surface of the earth. So if the pressure on the earth is reduced, it also affects the tide that is in the sea. Now, based on this Newton's study, he discovered that for every square inch of atmosphere, there's 14.7 pound pressure per square inch pressing down on the earth, and that is what keeps us on the ground. And that is also what controls the movements of the water in the ocean. How did Newton discover gravity? It is said that Newton was sitting under an apple tree. An apple fell, and he questioned, why didn't the apple go up instead of coming down? Further study revealed about this atmospheric pressure and the control of this pressure by the moon. Now, in these two pictures, you will discover that the one to my left, the area is dry, and the one to my right, the area has water, contains water. Now, these two pictures were actually taken from the same spot. The one on the left, you had a low tide, so the sea receded, so the area was dry. The one on the right, you had a high tide, so you see where the sea came in and water filled that area. This is also another typical example of what high tide and low tide is. On the left, you can see people on the sand because the sea receded, and on the right, the sea came in. So the one on the left is a low tide, and the one on the right is a high tide. This is the same depiction in these two pictures. Next question, what causes an eclipse? You might have heard about an eclipse. There are two eclipses. An eclipse occurs when sun, earth, and moon are in direct line with each other. When the earth is between the sun and the moon, we have a lunar eclipse. So there are two types of eclipses, lunar and solar. So when the earth is between the sun and the moon, we have a lunar eclipse, with the earth shadow falling on the moon. When the moon is between the sun and the earth, we see a solar eclipse, which is when the moon shadow falls, blocking the sun. Because you know that both the earth and the moon reflects light from the sun. So if there's an opaque object between one of them, it will prevent light from reaching the other. So that would appear as an eclipse. And while we go along, if there's any question, if there's something that you're not sure of and you want clarification, feel free to ask the question, feel free to indicate so that we can take the question. Don't wait until after. All right, here's an example of what the eclipses are. The diagram above shows the sun. In the center, you'll find the earth, blocking the light from the moon. So there you have a lunar eclipse. The one below shows the moon between the earth and the sun. Therefore, it will block the shadow or the light from the moon, from the sun, and then you'll have a solar eclipse. Here's a basic example, a simple example done by a child. You have the sun on the left, the earth in the middle, and the moon to the right. The earth is blocking the light from the sun, which causes the moon to be dark. That is a lunar eclipse. The diagram below shows the moon between the earth and the sun. Therefore, the light from the sun would not be able to reach the earth. so that to us on Earth, the sun would appear dark. That is a solar eclipse. The question is, what is a shooting star? A shooting star, unfortunately, is not really a star, but rather it is what is called a meteor. What is a meteor? A meteor are rocks and metal particles traveling millions of miles in outer space at terrific speed. Whenever any of these particles enter our atmosphere, the resulting friction causes it to burn up thousands of miles above Earth. Hence, the streak of light is seen. So when you are looking in the sky in the night and see what appears to be a falling star, is not a star falling. It's actually rock or metal particles. And in outer space, a lot of things going on up there. There's a lot of objects traveling millions of miles. Once they enter our atmosphere, remember in outer space and in our atmosphere, there's a different, especially in the gravitational pull. So once they enter our atmosphere, there's a burning that's taking place. So the streak of light you see is the burning that takes place. However, there are times when they're not totally burnt up, and maybe one of these rocks hit the ground. It hit the ground sometimes in desert areas like Arizona, etc. Whenever one of these particles hit the ground, it is then known as a meteorite. So once it hit the ground, it is referred to as a meteorite. Once it's in the open atmosphere and this stratosphere, it is known as a meteor. So here's a picture, example of what is referred to as a meteorite shower. So there are times when you have more than one of these particles hitting our atmosphere, and it is referred to as a meteor shower. Now we want to have a diagram made of our solar system. Each MIT need to be acquainted with our solar system and the planets that are in our solar system. Closer to the sun, you'll find Mercury, then Venus, then Earth, then Mars, then Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. Now, this is a very old picture, because some years ago, it was discovered that Pluto was not really a planet. So it was demoted from being a planet status because of the discovery of a landmass called Eris. The scientists from the National Geographic decided that instead of promoting Eris to becoming another planet, it would be easier to demote Pluto. So Pluto was demoted. So instead of having 9 planets, we now have 8. Now, just by way of information, as we mentioned earlier, that there will be signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars. I was reading something on the internet this afternoon, and it said that in the early morning, the coming morning, that's the 19th of July, we will have 5 of these planets visible in the sky at the same time. They say it's something that doesn't happen very often. And the planets that will be visible tonight or early this morning is Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. So if you want to do some stargazing, say it would be like about an hour before daylight. You could wake up and look up in the sky, and you will see all these 5 planets along with the moon. So you could start do your stargazing as of early in the morning. So please make note of the planet and the order in which they fall, because you will need to do your own drawing. I don't want any artificial one like I have on my screen. I would prefer you to do your own drawing to show, because the recommendation or the task is to make a diagram of our solar system. Next question, how fast does light travel? How far does light travel in a year? Now, we need some mathematician to do all of this calculation. Anyway, light travels at 186,000 miles per second. 186,000 miles per second, which is 300,000 kilometers per second. So therefore, if you want to find out how far light would travel in a year, you would need to do some calculation. You would want to find out how far does light travel in a minute. So it calculates 186,000 by 60. Then if you want to find out how far would it travel in an hour, you would multiply that answer by another 60. You want to find out how far it would travel in a day, then you multiply that by 24. And then you go on. Then if you want to find out how far would light get in a week, then you would multiply that by 7. A light month would multiply by 30. And then a light year, you would multiply all of that by 12. Now, it is said that there are some stars that is over 6 million light years away. So can you imagine? It is said that the light would travel 5.88 trillion miles within a year. And if there are some stars that are millions of miles away, can you imagine how vast and wide the universe is? Next question. What are the differences between a planet and a star? And we want to be able to identify some planets. As a matter of fact, we want to identify some constellations and some stars. However, here are some differences, because if you should go outside on a clear night and you look up in the sky, you're going to see lights. Now, what will be the difference between the star and the planet? Here are some ways you can identify what is a planet and what is a star. Now, just by way of information, the planet, it's difficult to identify the location of a planet in the sky, because they're referred to as wanderer. So the planet doesn't follow a specific pattern. As it were, the planets travels in a more orderly fashion. And that is why they refer to as fixed, and not that they remain at one state and place in the sky. They travel in an orderly fashion. So for example, tonight is July 18th. So if you should go in this outside and look in the sky and see a particular constellation, a particular star, come next year the same time, you will be able to observe the star in that same location. That is not so with the planet. So the star is more orderly, while the planet tend to wander and find themselves in different locations at different time of the year. The planet, they reflect light. So as opposed to the star that is self-luminous, that generates its own light, the planet reflects light. A star will twinkle while a planet maintains a steady light. So there are some of the difference between. So if you look up in the sky and see some light, you could look steadfast at it. The star will give you a twinkle, while the planet will give you a steady light. The next question, what is a constellation? A constellation is a group of stars that come together, form a pattern, and they travel together. Let's go again. A constellation is a number of stars. They come together and form a pattern. They travel together, and they're together at all times. Therefore, in Spanish, the word con means with, stella means star. So you put the both words together, constella, stars with stars. And it is believed that we have over 88 constellations. So each star you see up in the sky belongs to a particular group of this 88 constellation. And they're divided basically in two groups, winter and summer. We are now in the in the summer months. Therefore, the stars are the the constellation that you see at this time of the year, July, going into say about October, will be a different set you'll see coming on in November, December, January. So the constellations are divided into two main groups, winter constellation and summer constellation. Now, what we're going to want to do is to be able to identify some stars and some constellation. I hope you'll find this exciting. Now, as a precursor, here are some of the things that we're going to be able to identify. We're going to identify the Big Dipper constellation. And it is said that if you're going to do your stargazing in the summer, the first constellation, or the best one for you to start from, is the Big Dipper. Then you will identify the Little Dipper, and in the Little Dipper, you will identify a star called Polaris. Then you'll identify a constellation called Bootes, and in Bootes, you'll identify a star called Arcturus. You'll also identify a constellation called Cygnus, and you will identify a star called Deneb, and so forth. So let's move on. Now, this is a map of the night sky in the summer. Now, a lot of you might be questioning the labeling. If you have done geo in school, they would have switched the east and the west. However, the fact that you're doing astronomy, you have the west and the right and the east and the left, because this map would have to be held up overhead for you to get it right. Okay. Now, I just want you to look to the northwest, and you will see a group of stars, and it is called Ursa Major. Now, this constellation goes by three names: Ursa Major, Big Dipper, and the Big Bear. Can we see a one drop in there? Let me know if you're finding the constellation. I don't have a pointer on my thing here. I would like to know that you have identified the constellation I'm speaking of. Look towards the northwest, and you will see Ursa Major. It's actually seven visible stars, because if you take a closer look at the constellations, there are some minor stars. However, they give us the major ones. So it's like a pan with a handle, right? So they are found it. Now, from the base of Ursa Major, if you take an imaginary line from the two stars at the base of Ursa Major, an imaginary straight line would take you to the star at the tip of Ursa Minor. Can we get some feedback? That star at the top of Ursa Minor is called Polaris, or the pole star. So we want to make sure that they are identifying Ursa Major and Ursa Minor. On the map towards the northwest, just look right between northwest. You will see Ursa Major, and you will see a diagram there of 7 stars. Did you see that diagram? All right. So once you find Ursa Major, you use those 2 stars at the top, or at the base, and make an imaginary line, straight line to the left. Straight line to the left would take you to Ursa Minor, to a star in Ursa Minor. That's the one at the first star at the top would be called the pole star, or Polaris. So right there we have identified 2 constellation and 1 star.
But I have a question for you, Master Guy Johnson. Yes. Between Hercules and Bootes, what's the U-shaped one called?
Between, oh, they're running ahead of me, man. Well, that's nice, that's nice. Okay, the U-shaped one, I didn't have it in my thing, but since you're asking, the U-shaped one in between Hercules and Bootes is called Caronia, C-O-R-O-N-I-A, Caronia Borealis. Caronia Borealis. And there's a bright star in Caronia Borealis called Gemma, G-E-M-M-A. Right.
All right.
That is right. That is Caronia Borealis, otherwise known as the Northern Crown. Caronia Borealis, otherwise known as the Northern Crown. I see your indication. All right. Now we're gonna move to Bootes now. Since you have identified Bootes, now if you make a imaginary arc from the bottom of the Big Dipper, or Ursa Major, to the end of the point in Bootes, there's a bright star there called Arcturus. Right, thank you. This star in Bootes is called Arcturus. So it is said that if you make an arc from the point of the Big Dipper, you come to Arcturus. Just playing with words. So okay, just go back. We're saying that from these 2 stars in Ursa Major, if you make an imaginary straight line, you come to this star, which is Polaris, right? And you make an imaginary line from the tip of Ursa Major, you'll come to this star in the constellation of Bootes. So all of this is a constellation of Bootes, with this star is Arcturus. All right. Then let's move over into the center here. In the summer, if you look directly overhead, you're gonna see 3 bright stars. 3 bright stars. They're referred to as the summer triangle. Now, one of the stars will be in this constellation here, this crooked cross here. And this constellation is called Cygnus, C-Y-G-N-U-S. This cross here is called Cygnus. The constellation is called Cygnus. Now, at the top of the cross, the star up at the top of the cross here is called Deneb, D-E-N-E-B. D-E-N-E-B. Then down below you'll find what look like a crooked triangle. The constellation here is called Aquila. And by the way, when you go deep into star study, you will discover that the ancient Greek were very deep into the study of stars, because those times they had no compasses, they had no Google Maps, they hardly had anything to show them time or direction. So they used to depend a lot on the stars to give them direction. So they came up with a lot of different mythology, etc. But one of the amazing things is that in every one of these constellations, they would see an animal or an object. So as you go along, you will discover that as you look at the constellation, so for example, if you go back to Ursa Major, it is called the Big Bear. So they saw a bear based on the different minor stars and the different makeup of the constellation. They call it the Big Bear. Then Ursa Minor, they call it the Little Bear. Then Boots is referred to as a herdsman. So back over now to Cygnus, they call it the Swan. Cygnus, the Swan. Then down here in Aquila now, they refer to it as the eagle. Aquila the eagle. So you should remember them by the animal that they represent. So right in Aquila, this star here. So this star is called Altair. A-L-T-A-I-R. So we have identified Deneb in the constellation of Cygnus. We have identified Altair in the constellation of Aquila. Then at the top here, you have Lyra, this little constellation here. And the Greek call it a harp, Lyra the harp. And this bright star here is called Vega. Now, if you, as I mentioned earlier, that if you look up in the midnight sky around about now, you see three very bright stars. These are the three stars. Deneb in Cygnus, Altair in Aquila, Vega in Lyra, and they make a triangle. It's referred to as summer triangle. The next constellation I want to bring your attention to is all the way down to the south. Coming across from the southeast, heading towards the west, is this constellation that looks like a J, a crooked J, right? Those of you who were born in certain time will know about that he was a Scorpion. Eh? So this constellation is called Scorpio. And this bright star right here in the center here is called Antares, A-N-T-A-R-E-S. Some pronounce it Antares, some pronounce it Antares. Back at the top here, you will find another constellation that I want you to know. It makes the shape of a crooked M or a crooked W. All right. Now, as a student, as a budding astronomer, you could go on the web and you could print off an even more extensive. What I did was to choose a map that was not so congested, so that you could navigate through it. But when you go deeper into star study, you could print off a map which has a more condensed constellation, and you can go out in the night sky and you can be able to identify based on where you are. So for example, if you're in Montego Bay, the north would be over airport direction, right, Javon? The west would be over sea wind, The east would be more over the hospital area, and the south would be heading up towards Anchovy. So once you look over towards airport, you should be able to find Ursa Major, Ursa Minor. And the North Star is always towards the north, so you cannot miss it. And you can go further in finding constellation like Virgo, the Virgin, and Sagittarius, Capricorn, etc. Once you have your map and you go out in the night sky, you should be able to navigate and find this constellation. So let's recap. We identified Ursa Major, we identified Ursa Minor, we identified Boots, we identified Cygnus, Aquila, Lyra, Scorpio, and Cassiopeia. And these are mainly found in the summertime, just about this time of the year. Any question?
One question was asked, but I think maybe you have answered. What are the other names for Ursa Major?
Right. Ursa Major, Big Dipper, Big Bear. And the opposite goes for Ursa Minor, Little Bear, and Little Dipper.
All right.
So they go with that.
One more. Could you repeat the star in Lyra and Cygnus?
All right. So this star in Cygnus is D-E-N-E-B. That's Deneb. That's D-E-N-E-B. This one is in Aquila is Altair. A-L-T-A-I-R. The one in Lyra is Vega, V-E-G-A. So these three stars make up the summer triangle. Deneb, Altair, and Vega. So this is just a depiction of what we went through earlier. This is just a depiction of what we went through earlier. So you see, at the bottom you find Ursa Major, and you see that imaginary line moving towards Polaris. So this is Ursa Major and Ursa Minor depicted there. And here we have Ursa Major and Boots depicted there also. We went through that already. So this is just a picture depiction of what we just gone through. This is also a picture depiction of Aquila and Lyra. Here we have also a picture depiction of what the heavenly triangle, the summer triangle would look like. Deneb, Vega, Altair. So once you go outside and look up in the sky and see these three bright stars in the summer, you know that you have found three constellations. Also, this is what Scorpio would look like, and you see the name of that star there, Antares. Right, so this is what the Scorpion look like. So the Greek, when they look at that constellation there, they look at Scorpio, actually they see a scorpion. And here we have Cassiopeia. Cassiopeia is referred to as the lady of the chair. They see a lady sitting in her chair when they see Cassiopeia. Here you go, Cassiopeia, the lady of the chair. Okay, now we come to identify some winter constellation. The first constellation we want to identify in the winter is Orion. And in Orion, we're going to identify a number of things in Orion. We're going to identify 4 stars. We're going to identify the belt, and we're going to identify the sword. We're also going to identify Canis Major. The bright star is Sirius. Canis Minor, the bright star is Procyon. The bright star in Taurus is Aldebaran. Then we go to Gemini, Pollux and Castor, and then we go to Leo. All right. So this is a depiction of the heavenly sky in the winter. In the winter. Now, if you go down to the bottom of my screen, you will find this constellation making a crooked rectangle. Now, all of this constellation here is referred to as Orion. This is a constellation of Orion. Now, at the left-hand corner, the name of the star up there is, you see the name up there, Betelgeuse. Betelgeuse. The one to my right is called Bellatrix. Bellatrix. It's Bellatrix. The one to my far left at the bottom is called Siaph, S-I-A-P-H. That is S-I-A-P-H. And the one to the bottom right is called Rigel. Now, Orion is referred to as the mighty hunter. And later on, I will show you a picture of Orion as a hunter. But for now, so this hunter is standing, having on his belt. So these 3 stars across the rectangle is referred to the belt as the belt of Orion. Not visible, but hanging from the belt would be a sword. Would be 3 stars also. That is referred to as the sword. And it is said that the middle star in the sword, it is called the Great Nebula, or the open space in Orion. And further down, you will be asked to do some research on the nebula in Orion, or the open space in Orion. So we mentioned earlier that Orion is a hunter, and each hunter travels with dogs. So all the way down to the left-hand corner of your screen, you see a constellation called Canis Major, otherwise called the big dog. I don't know if he'll give you the shape of a dog, but that's what it's called. So all of this is called Canis Major, otherwise known as the big dog. And the star right in the center here is called Sirius. And Sirius is referred to as one of the brightest stars in the sky. Above that, up to my left, is 2 stars, a bright one and a pale one. This is referred to as the little dog. So Orion travels with 2 dogs, a big dog and a little dog. So you have Canis Major and you have Canis Minor. And this bright star in Canis Minor is Procyon, P-R-O-C-Y-O-N. That's P-R-O-C-Y-O-N. At the top of the screen, you see 2 stick men. All of this constellation is Gemini. The entire constellation here is called Gemini. Now, these 2 stick men are referred to as the heavenly twins. And the bright star at their head is called Pollux and Castor. And Gemini is referred to as twin brothers. Over towards my right, you will see a V-shaped constellation. this V-shaped constellation is considered to be the horn of the bull, Taurus. So this V-shaped constellation is Taurus, and the bright star in Taurus is Aldebaran, A-L-D-E-B-A-R-A-N, Aldebaran. And over to my far right, you'll see a little star cluster referred to as the Seven Sisters, otherwise known as the Pleiades. Confirm that they're seeing that they see my pointer?
Still seeing your pointer.
All right, thanks. So it is believed that Pleiades is a spot on the bull's shoulder. So astronomers will tell you that Pleiades is a part of the constellation of Taurus, but they have identified it separately. So this is basically the same depiction of what you'd see if you should copy off a winter map. Here are some additional constellations that you'd find in the winter. So, okay, this is what Orion would look like. Here you see the depiction of Orion as a hunter. He has in his left hand a sheepskin and in his right hand a club. And based on mythology, it is said that Orion is trying to ward off the attack of the bull. So right over there you'll find Aldebaran. This is actually the bull over here. On the right shoulder of Orion would be Betelgeuse. On the left shoulder would be Bellatrix. On his left knee, his right knee would be Saiph. On his right foot would be Rigel. All right, over to the left, you will see the big dog with that bright star there. So you have Canis Major with that bright star, is Sirius, and at the top you'll find the little dog with the bright star being Procyon. So Orion is traveling with two dogs, Canis Major and Canis Minor. And that this is what the Canis Major and Canis Minor would look like when you magnify them. Basically, these two dogs travel with Orion. Gemini, this is what the stickmen look like. The heavenly twins. And you will notice the two bright stars form the head of the stickmen, the heavenly twins. These constellations would be visible around about December, January, February. So the constellations that you're seeing tonight in the summer are not the ones that you'll see from winter. All right, this is a depiction of the bull, Taurus. Now, if you look towards my right, so this would be Pleiades. As I mentioned before, it is widely believed it's a part of Taurus, the bull, because they say it's a spot on the bull's shoulder. So you see the V shape at the horn there, V shape at the horn, and this bright star on the forehead is called Aldebaran. Now this is what, if you magnify the Pleiades, this is what they would look like. Mentioned earlier, we did not mention about Leo, the lion, but this is also a winter constellation.
Right, so he's asking Master Guy Johnson for the lion to be re-explained.
Oh, okay. Oh, if you look on this map towards the east, you'll see Leo. right? The constellation is Leo, the lion. So this is also a part of, and I think there's a bright star in Leo called Regulus. So this is another constellation in winter constellation. So if you should copy a winter constellation map, you'll find Leo right over here. All right? And that is what Leo constellation would look like. So the question is, what is the Milky Way? So that the Earth orbits the sun in a solar system. And the solar system is embedded within a vast galaxy of stars. It is just one of hundreds of billions of galaxies. Earlier on, when I mentioned about a light year, we discovered that there are other galaxies apart from ours. So we are in the Milky Way galaxy. And based on what is believed, it is that there are hundreds of billions of galaxies. So our galaxy is the Milky Way galaxy in which our solar system is embedded. Now, the Milky Way appears as a disk of light spanning the night sky, and I think it stretches from north to south. So it would normally go through the constellation of right in the center of the sky. So it goes through these the triangle that we mentioned before, constellation like Cygnus, Altair, etc. So if you look up in the night sky and you see a band of light stretching from north to south, it is known as the Milky Way. And it is that galaxy that band our solar system. And this is what the band of light would basically look like. This would give different depiction of what the band of light, the Milky Way, would look like. Next question is, what is the morning and the evening star? Now, the first light that you would see towards the west in the evening, and also the first light that you'll see in the east in the morning. People refer to them as the morning star and the evening star. However, these lights are not stars. They're actually planets. Now, as was mentioned earlier, because of the behavior of the planets, sometimes it's hard to identify which is which. But it is believed that Venus and Mercury, because they're closer to the sun, they interchange as the morning and the evening star. So the first light that you see at sunset, that bright light over there, it could either be Mercury. Usually it's Venus. And usually Mercury come up as the morning star early in the morning before the break of day. So when you hear about the morning and the evening star, they are not really stars. They're between Venus and Mercury. They interchange as morning and evening star. Explain zenith and nadir. Now, zenith and nadir are just two imaginary points. They're just two imaginary points. So for example, you go in an open area and you look straight above you in the sky. The point directly over your head would be considered your zenith. And the point, so if they make a straight line through you while you're standing out there, the point above you would be your head. And the point directly below your feet would be considered to be the nadir. So basically, zenith and nadir are just two imaginary planes that would identify the point above and the point below. Zenith and nadir is basically standing in an open area. The point directly above you would be the zenith, And the point directly below you would be your nadir. The next question is, what is the aurora borealis and what causes it? Now, we might not see the aurora borealis in Jamaica, but if you go further north, maybe in North America, etc., maybe as it coming towards dawn, as it coming towards sunset, you will see what they call a light coming from over the horizon. Aurora borealis is a beautiful natural phenomenon that often occur in the polar region. And the polar region is basically up north. The immediate cause of aurora borealis is not a precipitating energy particles. So where the horizon meet the earth, it creates a light. And they say sometimes it can be a very beautiful light. And it is caused at the earth where the earth magnetic field meet the sky. So it creates a light. So that's what called the aurora borealis. All right. Here are some research we wanted to do. In the Bible, there is reference made of Arcturus, Pleiades, and Orion. We want our student to do research and find the text in the Bible where Arcturus is mentioned, Orion is mentioned, and Pleiades is mentioned. Also, there's a statement by Ellen White in the book Early Writings. We'd want you to say what she mentioned about the open space. Orion. All right. Now, this is just a recap. We identify the Big Bear, Ursa Minor, Ursa Major. We also identify that the bright star in Polaris, bright star in Ursa Minor is Polaris. Okay? So the summer constellation we identified was the Big Bear, the Little Bear, and we identified the star Polaris. They are the two bears. We identify Boots, the herdsman. We identify Cygnus, which we say is depicted as the swan. And at the tail of the swan, you can see the bright star, Deneb. We identify Scorpio, Scorpion, and we also identify the bright star, Antares. We identify Aquila the eagle, and we identify the bright star, Altair. We identify Lyra the harp, and we identify the bright star, Vega. We identify Cassiopeia. Oh, we did not identify any bright star in Cassiopeia because there's no outstanding star, so we just leave that one. We identify Orion, Hunter. We identify the belt. Here we have, in this depiction, we have the sword. So we identify the four bright stars that make a rectangle: Bellatrix, Betelgeuse, Saiph, and Rigel. We identify Taurus the bull. We also identify the bright star Aldebaran. We also identify Pleiades, which is a spot on the bull's shoulder. We identify the big dog, major dog, or Canis Major. We also identify the bright star Sirius. And just by way of information, we mentioned earlier that Sirius is one of the brightest stars in the sky. The brightness of stars are measured in magnitude. So stars are measured in magnitude from first magnitude up to seventh magnitude. The brighter star like Sirius is a first magnitude. And then the fainter star would come in at 7th magnitude. So please remember that. If you want to know about the brightness of stars, you have first magnitude, second magnitude, third magnitude, up to 7th magnitude. We identify the heavenly twins, and the two bright stars, the head of the twins are Pollux and Castor. There are some constellations that you can, in your own time, identify. Here is the ram, Cancer the crab, Pegasus the wing heart, Pisces the fish, Virgo the virgin. Now, I just want to let you know that usually star study is done in 2 phases. I don't know how we're gonna do the second phase, because usually when we go on a hike, we usually stop somewhere in the middle section up in the hills, and we are able to identify some of these stars. Now, what I can tell you, if you're living in an area where you can get away from the light, you could go on the net and you can print a star map. Just put in Google winter constellations and you'll see a lot of stars map coming. You can print one of them. Then, as I mentioned before, you go out in the night sky, and once you identify the Big Dipper, everything will start falling in place. Coming on into the winter, around about December, thereabout, you could go there with your winter constellation map. Once you identify Orion coming over into from the east, everything else will fall in place. So you could do your star study. You will find it very exciting that you're able to identify. And one of the beauty about being a master guide, you could be in a group of people in the night looking up in the sky, and you're able to identify, oh, that star up there is Vega. Oh, that star up there is Aquila. That constellation is, and people start looking and wondering what you're talking about. But that is the beauty of being a master guide. And they say that knowledge is power. So when you have this knowledge, as a matter of fact, just to share something with you, I went on an interview one time. And because of my study of Star Javon, I was able to get 2 questions correct. Because one of the questions they asked was, what is the brightest star in the sky? And right away I could get Sirius. And the next one is, what does constellar mean? What is the meaning of constellar? And right away I could get constellation, right? So once you're a master guide, these things will propel you into, further life to be able to identify things. Now, we have come to the end of the presentation. This is the time when we get comments, feedback, interaction, any questions?
Why is there different time in different countries?
Okay, going back to the research.
Yes, to the research page.
Okay. Find the statement that was made by Ellen G. White in the book Early Writing, and I think it's on page 51 concerning the open space in Orion. Now, just to give you a glimpse of what she said, and it is mentioned that, as I mentioned earlier, that there's an open space in Orion. As a matter of fact, it is considered to be the 3rd star in the sword. The 3rd star in the sword is referred to as the Great Nebula. Now, I'm challenging my young people not to just take what I did tonight was to introduce you to new information. Now, what you're going to do throughout the process of this week is to find further information because the thing is vast. I just give you a point at which you can start from. So it is believed that it is through this open space in Orion that Christ will return. So you need to go and do some research and find out what is it that Ellen G. White said about the open space in Orion. Also, check in your Bible, there are it is mentioned about Arcturus, Orion, and Pleiades. So when you're doing your assignment, include these questions in it. I just want to say to our MITs, as I mentioned before, knowledge is power. Now, one of the main objectives of you doing an assignment, we want to know that you gotten the subject matter and you have understood it. So all we're asking you to do is to reproduce it to show that you understood what was taught. Now, if you go on the web and you find the material, you print it off and you send it to Javon, you know, that was not your work. We encourage that each MIT do their own work. That is a proof to show that you understood what took place. It also helps you to have a further knowledge, because in going through and doing your assignment, you can discover something that I did not even touch tonight. So we're just opening the avenue to knowledge. So don't confine yourself to just going to a site and print off something. Do further research. Maybe next year, one of you could be the one teaching stars, you know. We're just sorry that we're not close, we could interact so that, you know, but maybe next year, one of you, based on your further study, would be the one teaching star. And the one who asks about the time zone, maybe in further research, they could find out more than I could say, and next year they could add it in their thing when they're teaching it. All right? Over to you, Javon.